Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well? All right. So thank you for coming and being here with us. I'm Nerea. I'm the CEO and co-founder of The Good Goal. We are a climate tech startup co-founded by three women, and we've developed a solution for companies to integrate sustainability within the corporate culture, involving their employees and communities. We are focusing on people as change makers for the sustainability transition that we need. I'm not alone. I'm here with Alessandro, which is the CEO of A-World. Hello, Alessandro.
Thank you, Nerea. Good to be here. This is going to be an unconventional panel because we have two companies that do something very similar. In other sectors, we could be called competitors, but we're not competitors in the climate space world. We're all in this together, and we need everyone to do their own job. And so it's something exceptional. We don't have a moderator. We really wanted to bring you what we've learned during our path. We are a climate tech startup based in Italy. We help in guiding people into living sustainably. Actually, we are three co-founders that come from the fashion world. We worked with big brands internationally. We ended up in Asia. We saw the impact that fast fashion had on people and on planet. And to tell you what we saw, we were walking into one of those factories that make t-shirts that cost $1 or $2. And in the fashion scene, you always want to know what is the next color in season or what your competitor is working on. And I was walking through one of these factories and asked the person, said, hey, can you tell me what is the next color in season? So I can tell my people to do the same color of the same products. The lady that was walking me told me, if you want to know the next color in season, go and look at the color of the river. This means that all of the chemicals would have been dumped into the river. That moment we decided that we couldn't be part of this world anymore. We needed to do something that could actually be beneficial for the environment. We saw the cost of the products that we buy every day, and we said that we need to try to help people understand individual impact. 2 years later, we're here, glad to be here next to you. Tackling this is an honor. We also do this with the United Nations, with the Act Now campaign, the campaign for individual action on climate change and sustainability. So also lucky to have them and to have worldwide ambassadors like Leonardo DiCaprio or any other celebrities that are helping us. We know that we need to make this something exciting, pop. Sustainability sometimes could be complicated. It feels like we need to avoid certain things. Our goal here is to make people understand whether with very little things we can have a very big impact.
So what we want to remark is, besides that we have a similar solution, the thing is that we share the same purpose of boosting environmental involvement of people through the improvement of their habits, right? And measuring the impact, which is really important, right? So where are we and what is happening with the climate situation?
Well, yeah, I'm sure we're all in this together, as I mentioned earlier. We're not doing so well. United Nations is telling us that we're going to hit our 1.5 temperature increase worldwide, and that's going to put us in a devastating scenario. We're going to have biodiversity loss. We're going to see people migrate from one country to the other, and the reality is that we're not doing enough. We have the last 10 years were the hottest years in the last 125,000 years. It's said that by 2050 we're going to have more plastic in the ocean than fish. By the way, there is a study that says that we eat the equivalent of a plastic credit card of microplastics every month. That's 7 grams of microplastic every month. We're cutting down the equivalent of one football field of forest every second. So the reality is that we're not doing enough. We should do more. I think we have the tools to innovate, but we need everyone on board. Everyone understand that we are part of a bigger schema. We don't only look after ourselves and what do I benefit, but what the environment benefits. And I think our companies are trying to give this understanding to people, trying to make sure that we understand that we are part of an interconnected system with nature, and we depend on nature. If nature is healthy, we're going to have a healthy life, and we need to do everything that we can in order to protect it. So science is telling us that we're not doing so well, but we still have a very small window where we can turn things around. The reality, though, is that we need companies, we need citizens, we need big organizations and governments on the same page.
But going a little deeper on the problem, we all know about this climate crisis and emergency. We all know that we are all affected by this climate crisis, and we see this impact in ourselves. So we can talk about the sustainability is a trend, right? But why society is not getting actively involved as is required, as is urgency required? So in my opinion, there is a dichotomy between awareness and involvement, and it occurs due to some barriers that we from the Good Goal identified from the beginning, and we are trying to minimize them to get the people actively involved, right? So these barriers talks about, first of all, we are lacking information about how to integrate sustainable actions in our daily basis, because people get very confused about how they can integrate these actions and the impact of their actions, right? And this is another barrier, the invisibility of the impact of our actions, because it's really difficult to tangibilize this impact in a short term. Another problem is about lack of motivation. This is because we have no sense of community that boosts each other to go in the same path for the same goal. We cannot feel alone in this path, or we don't feel rewarded, or maybe we don't feel that it's worth it. We don't feel like supported by a community, right? Last, this is an effort barrier, of course. We are not into sacrificing our comfort for the sake of the environment, right? So what do you think between this gap, between awareness and involvement?
We discovered the same things. We know that people want to know more about sustainability, but they don't know where to start. So we need to make it easy, and we need to guide people into what living sustainably really means. We know that we feel a need to take action. There's something inside that telling us, okay, I should care. Sometimes we feel lonely. If it's just me doing it, how can I really change things? So we need to build communities like you're doing with your solution. And we fail to see the impact behind our daily actions. When I was in Asia and I saw the impact that this T-shirt had, there is nothing telling me if I come here with my bike or if I'm taking a car, what is the difference? What is the CO2 emissions? There's nothing telling me if I recycle a bottle of plastic or not, what is the impact? It's very difficult. It's coming, but it's very difficult. So we need to be more aware that we have the power we vote every day with the money we spend, the attention we pay also. We know that there is a big intention behavior gap. I'm at the grocery, I know what I want, I know that this product is better than this one, but why don't I always take that decision? I think it's because we are habitual creatures. If you think about it, every time you go to the gym, I don't go to the gym enough, but I should go to the gym more. Every time you put your clothes in a closet and you lock it in the locker, you always try to go back to the same closet. Why? Because I picked it once, it is just easier to go back. Imagine when you go to school the first year, you choose your desk and you go back to that desk every year, every day. Why? Because we're just wired like that. Changing behavior is difficult. It takes a cognitive effort. Sometimes it's more expensive, and I need to think a lot sometimes. So it's just difficult. We're just humans, and it's difficult to change behavior. For this reason, we need to guide people, and we need to find solutions into understanding the personal impact, which could be divided in multiple areas. We should start from a carbon footprint calculator. So we should be aware about our carbon footprint, which is divided in 4 areas: transportation, energy, food, and purchases. So I know that every time I take a different transportation, it could have an impact or not. And we're drilling it down to the CO2 emissions too. But personal impact cannot be only quantitative. It cannot only be CO2 oriented. It has other dimensions too. It's about the knowledge that I have. how much I'm growing in my knowledge about these topics. Living sustainably is not only environmental, it's social too, right? We then have other parts, is like, what actions am I doing in order to reduce the carbon footprint? There's this other topic that we're studying called climate shadow, which puts two people, and we're trying to understand which person has more impact. There's one person that is riding its bike to work, it's vegan, but works for a digital agency that does advertising for oil and gas. And then you have on the other side, you have a scientist studying climate change that's not vegan and is on a plane every day to go and advocate for these topics. Who has the biggest impact here? So it's not only about the carbon footprint. There's other dimensions that we need to consider in order to have an understanding of what living sustainably really means. And we understand it should be your carbon footprint, so learning first about the quantitative part, growing your awareness and taking action in order to reduce your carbon footprint. This is at least, I think, what we are coming to a solution in order to make it easy for people to understand. Of course, we use gamification, that this is an extra incentive. And we know that at the end of the day, it also comes to rewards. Having some rewards for you is the extra incentive. It shouldn't be only reward-based, but that's also helpful to make the extra step.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and now let's talk about responsibility. So, which agents of society have the main or the biggest responsibility in this crisis or situation? Are government's responsibility, our company's responsibility, rich people? So I think here my opinion is that we all share the same responsibility. What is not the same is the tools that we have to take action. For example, government has the tool of legislation to implement laws and plans to promote a more sustainable present and future, and to ensure the commitment and compliance to the 2030 agenda and the carbon neutral goal for 2050. From companies' side, they can redefine their business models, they can redefine their processes to reduce their emissions, and to align themselves to SDGs values and sustainability values, right? And finally, as individuals and citizens, we have the power. We usually think that we are at the end of the chain, right? Like, we don't have the same power or tools of governments and companies or responsibility, but actually, I think that the chain starts with us, because we are, as consumers, can demand to the other agents to change the reality and to be more sustainable, right? So we have the power, and our pressure and influence is key to make the other agents, governments and companies, truly and really change, right?
I mean, in America they say lead by example.
That's it.
Right? I mean, the truth is, as you just mentioned, we have the power to vote for our people, right? I mean, I don't know here in Spain. In Italy, we vote every year now and then, so our governments are not so stable. But if you think about it, the products that we buy, the services that we choose are votes. We vote with the money, we vote with what we do every day, with the purchases and the solutions that we buy. And a tendency I see within the climate world is, oh yes, someone else is taking care of it, or the government should do more. We should lead by example ourselves. We should do what we can and be in our power, and advocate for the others to take action. Governments are made by people, companies are made by people. We need to be the change that we wish to see in those organizations too. I believe that we are in the beginning of a transition that is going to last 20, 30 years, where we're going to see more and more people advocating for climate solutions into the organizations. The organizations like government or companies that are more advanced and understand the fact that we are in this climate crisis and we need to take action right now are the companies and governments that are going to position themselves for future generations to grow, or companies to be positioned out there. I believe that the companies that are not going to do this work right now, but are just going to wait for regulations, that are only going to take action or start to report on sustainability, are the companies that are going to be outdated in 10 years. Mm-hmm. At least I'm sure you see what we see too, is companies are urging to have data, governments too, to show that they're actually taking action. So solutions like yours and ours are essential for organizations because they know they need to show data that they are concrete data, measurable data, quantitative and qualitative.
That take decisions with the data.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's run something. How many of you know your carbon footprint, your personal carbon footprint? Raise your hands. Good, good. We could do better. There is an app that you can download to learn right away your carbon footprint. So this is something that we see every day. It's going to come. At least the carbon footprint part is going to come. It's going to be in your bank. Your bank sooner or later will tell you what is the carbon footprint emissions that you're going to have for every purchase. Yeah. Your energy supplier is going to tell you based on your consumption what is the carbon emissions too. So it's going to slowly come to the product level too. Products are going to have labels that are going to show the LCA, the life cycle assessment of the impact that we have. So it's inevitable that it's going to come. We're at the beginning of this transition, and slowly we're going to be more acquainted with these numbers, which are also complicated to understand. We have 18 years old Greta Thunberg talking about GHG, gigatons of greenhouse gases. It is complicated. We need to show people how easy it is and equivalent your emissions to, hey, today you emitted as a balloon, for example, or the equivalent of a household of 4 people for a month. Our goal is to really make it tangible and simple.
So we can agree on that this transition needs a cultural transformation in every sector. But here, talking about cultural transformation, I think that we can talk about 2 spheres. One is the private sphere as consumers, as individuals, and the other one is the company sphere as workers, employees, entrepreneurs, and so on. So we have these 2 spheres that we can work on this cultural transformation, right? What do you think, for example, from the consumer perspective, how we can make a difference in this sphere?
So consumers are telling us that they want more sustainable products, but we're still not ready to spend the extra euro for those. So there's a small percentage of consumers that are still willing to spend more for a more sustainable product or a lower impact product. We see this with kids. We see protests, Friday for Future Kids. Once they come around the city, they're protesting, advocating for something good, but McDonald's at the same time is still full, and maybe it's full of trash on the floor. So it's still we're still halfway there. I think we need to create awareness on older generations too, because it's always easier to say it's on the younger generations, but who has the power right now, who's in control, is still people that have 50, 60 years old, which are politicians. So this is where our responsibility comes to demand change from the governments and from our companies, because if we start buying products that are more sustainable, companies will have to change. But I know that you're also working with employees too, and you know that you can also tell us how our organization can transform from the inside, driving impact with its own community.
Yes, this is the other sphere, right?
The
company sphere and work sphere. And here I think that companies have a huge responsibility on this cultural transformation as well. Taking into account that we spend almost half of our days in a work environment, right? So there is a remarkable bonding of people to the companies they work for. And I think that as the schools get involved in the education of children and young people, companies should get involved and committed to still educating in good habits and a healthy and sustainable culture among their employees, raising awareness, training them and getting them actively involved. So to build this cultural transformation inside the companies, right? So that is what we do in the Good Goal to facilitate this work for the companies, to integrate the employees and align them to their ESG strategies and their sustainability strategies, right? So from this side, I want to encourage you all to use your individual power and to advocate and suggest initiatives inside your companies, because you can really be the change makers of this cultural transformation, right? So let's do it together from our private and our work environment, right? So we have this influence and we have to use it.
I think I think we're pretty late and we have to go, but thank you. I think if two companies, two startups, which are also competitors here talking about the same topic, is because there's urgency to take action, and we need all of you taking action. Start downloading the app and understand your carbon footprint. That will be your first step. Thank you very much.